Hey students, it's Nate. How you doing? Here we are in week 7. I feel like all of you are cursing my name right now as you're working on your analytical reports. My ears are burning. Hang in there. This is a required component of this course for it to transfer to wherever you go from here. So I've tried to give you everything you need to be successful. And this video is going to give you some more stuff on being successful with the analytical report, which is due this Sunday. Here we are, week 7. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into a student example and kind of run through it with some feedback, and hopefully that will be helpful for you. Remember, in the resource page for the analytical report assignment, there is a sample. It's not a complete sample, but it gives you an example of a cover page and table of contents, and you can see some of those components there. So make sure you look at that before you dive in and start writing this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you an example of the report. Okay. All right, so hopefully at this point you now see what I see, which is a sample of the report. And let me walk through kind of the components of the report. The first section of the report is what we call prefatory. Prefatory includes everything that precedes the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page count of the report. It's your window dressing for the report. This includes a cover page, an executive summary, and a table of contents. I'm sorry, a cover page, table of contents, and executive summary in that order. So here we see a part of a cover page. I'm hiding it because I don't want the student's name to be revealed here. But the cover page needs to have a title, comparison to schools, whatever you want to call it. Prepared for, me, my name. Prepared by, you, your name, and the date. Again, there's a sample report with some of these components on the analytical report resource page, and you got a cover page example there. The next thing that this report should have is a table of contents. Table of contents lists all the sections of the report. So the table of contents should include the where the executive summary is, as well as the introductory section, as well as the criteria analysis section, and the final recommendation section, and the work cited. So you need to have a table of contents. This report does not have a table of contents. The third thing would be the executive summary. The executive summary is a mini boiled down version of the report itself, and it needs to include these things. Purpose of the report, just going to be a quick sentence. Purpose of the report, compare 3 schools, make a recommendation as to which one's the best based on my criteria. Then you want to have a paragraph that explains what criteria you're using to analyze the schools. Your next series of paragraphs would have quick, short reviews of which school won each criteria point. So that can all be done in one paragraph. You can split it out into a couple paragraphs, but you need to recap who won each criteria point. And then, most importantly, your executive summary also does need to include your final recommendation. So executive summary is going to be about 1 page. It could be a little bit longer, but it's boiling everything down into a quick summary recap of the key findings of the report. Cover page, table of contents, executive summary are all prefatory. They don't count towards your page count. Prefatory pages are lowercase Roman numeral pages. You can look at the research paper sample in the analytical report resource page, and it shows how to do that numbering. Okay, so that's the prefatory section. Then we get into the body of the report. Sorry, this little header from the share screen is showing there. But so the first, when we get into the body of the report, we have those main sections: the introduction section, the analysis by criteria section, the final recommendation section, and then the work cited. So there's a hierarchy to your headings in the report. Your main headings: introduction, analysis by criteria, final recommendation, work cited. Those are going to be large, all caps. And then your subheadings with the specific sections of the report which that's also outlined in the resource page, purpose of report, overview of criteria, etc. So this student has the headings, but the main headings should be larger and the subheadings should be smaller. So I would recommend here that introduction is all cap and maybe 14-point font. And then the subheading purpose of report could be initial caps, meaning not in all caps, just the first word of each, the first letter of each word is capitalized, or it's underlined, and then maybe it's 12-point font. What I do like about this report is block format. Everything's left aligned. It's a single space between paragraphs. That's all good. So here we see the purpose of the report. So far, so good. Then we see an explanation of each of the criteria points. That's all good. And this should technically be the very first page count in the report, okay? Then we get into the overview section. Here you want to overview, what is an MBA? What's the purpose of it? How do you get one? And also overview of the schools. What we need to see in this report that is lacking is citations. So anytime you have detailed information, facts, figures, numbers, historical references, that information came from somewhere. It's not walk around knowledge in your head, and you need to cite that source typically at the very end of your paragraph or paragraphs. So this is a single paragraph section. This student should have parentheses and list the source at the end of this paragraph where this information came from. Same here where the student is talking about University of Oregon. You see how there's a lot of detailed information here, talking about the numbers, the acres of land. Okay, he does say according to Forbes, so that is a source here, but there's probably more information here that needs to be cited. So ideally what we're looking for the MLA format is not just saying according to Forbes, but at the end of any sentence or paragraph that has information that came from a source, you have a parenthetical citation at the end of that sentence or paragraph. So parentheses, then I'm going to go to the work cited and look for that source. Okay? So the student does have citations, which is part of the reason I'm using this example so you can see, one thing that's missing and one thing that's good. We have citations here. San Diego State University overview, college data, college profile. So that is a source, that's good. We also see a source for University of Washington. I probably want to break this up into more than one paragraph. This is like a big chunk wall of words. So you can use smaller paragraphs and separate your information. Overview of schools. All right, so let's assume that's all done. Overview of schools. This student should also have an overview of, okay, that's already there, that criteria point. Scratch that. Then we have our second main section, criteria analysis. And the students diving right in with their first criteria point, costs. So what I like here is good graphic. That's nice and easy to read. Here's the flow that you want for your criteria analysis section. It's pretty linear. You're going to have an introductory paragraph that basically explains what the graph is. Our first criteria point is going to be cost. The graph that's shown below in figure 1 is going to compare both in-state and out-of-state costs, as well as additional room and board. This information was obtained from yada, yada, yada. So just a quick introductory paragraph. Then you have the actual graphic. And then following the graphic, you have a recap of who won and why. So we do have that here. What you don't want to do is restate the data that is already in the graphic. So this paragraph does talk about, here's the cost, $59,722, $64,794. And frankly, all of that is already in the graph. So you don't want to restate what's in the graph. Intro the graphic, show the graphic, recap the findings of the graphic, and who won, which school won that criteria point. That is very important that you state that in your recap before you move on to the next criteria point. This student also cited the source, which is great, compiled from, so that's good here. Nice graphics. Criteria 2, convenience. See, this one has all caps, criteria 1 cost, all caps. This one below has criteria 2, convenience is lowercase. We need a source here for this table. The student also needs to spell out the schools. You don't want to truncate or abbreviate the school names. The only time you abbreviate with initials is if you've mentioned it at the end of a first paragraph. So maybe the first time the student said University of Washington, then after that they'd say parentheses, hereafter referred to as UW, parentheses, then we know. But best to just spell them out. Here we see another figure. This needs the title more clearly up top. It shouldn't be in parentheses like as a quote. It should just be the title. And it does have the source. That should probably be at the bottom. And the page number is missing here on this graphic. There's a recap here. You want to try to have your stuff land as much on one page so you can move stuff down. So one criteria point per page if possible. Accessibility. Here the student cropped in an outside source graph, which is fine, but there's also all this text that's hanging in there on the graphic, and that's not fine. So this needs to be reformatted. And then the report kind of stops. And I know this is a draft, and we're all still working on this, but what's missing in this report is the final recommendation. So we definitely want to see that, as well as, extremely important, the work cited. The work cited is critical. You have to cite your sources in the paper and have a work cited as well to even be in the running for a C grade on the analytical report, because it is a research paper and thus it does need citations in the report. So this student probably they already submitted the draft in their previous thing, so they just need to add the work cited in here as their last page or pages of the report, as well as the final recommendation. I hope this all makes sense. So keep typing. I have some stuff going on tomorrow day. I'll try to keep my phone and laptop available so I can respond to students as you're working on this project. Again, look at the sample and use this feedback to help guide you as you work on your analytical reports. Good luck. You got this. You're almost there. And then you're just down to the recording. So we're almost at the finish line, that and the final. All right, I'm going to see how I stop this recording at this point. Okay.